Hello and welcome to the Smart Women in Business podcast. I'm your host, Jane Mackay. Earlier this year, I spoke with Kate Maree O'Brien, fierce leadership coach and founder of She, Australasia's largest women's leadership and empowerment event. We talked about her incredible life journey that brought her to entrepreneurship and overcoming the barriers of addiction, as well as overcoming the need to conform to create a unique personal brand that has made a huge impact on the world. There's been a delay on publishing this due to COVID. I wanted to be sensitive to where we are in this time of the pandemic, but now is the time to release this. So also there is a language warning on this episode. To find the show notes for this episode, head to my website, jmackaycommunications.com.au/blog. While you're there, don't forget to subscribe so you get all the latest episodes. Hello and welcome to the Smart Women in Business vlog and podcast. Today I am talking to Kate Maree O'Brien all the way over in sunny Bali. Kate lives and breathes personal leadership. She is the founder of She, Australasia's largest women's leadership and empowerment event, and over the last 15 years has personally smashed through major glass ceilings again and again and again, demonstrating all that she stands for in being able to rewrite our own futures. Kate was once addicted to drugs, anorexic, and suffered from social anxiety. And nowadays, she's a highly regarded leadership coach, sought-after speaker, and is well known for her down-to-earth teachings and bullshit-free approach to creating breakthrough results. Welcome, Kate! Yay!
Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you.
So tell me about your journey, because it's been quite an amazing one, and how you got to where you are now.
Step by step, smashing on my face, picking myself up, mopping off my little bruised knees, getting back in the game again and again and again and again. I would say that, you talked a little bit about the drug addiction and the eating disorder. Like I've certainly hit rock bottom, and that became, I suppose, the platform to stand back up strong and just keep going. But I think how I've got here, there was actually no original big plan or vision for it. Where I'm at now, I wouldn't have even been able to see. I didn't have the vision to see this. But what I did learn to trust and follow was just that little nudge on the inside that says, I'm sure I'm here for something. And I even remember the day that I sort of decided that maybe I wasn't a mistake. And I know that sounds so simple and ridiculous, but up until then, I kind of had it in my head that I had to be someone else. And if I was a little bit more polished like that person, or a little bit more knowledge like that person, or if I maybe didn't have the experiences that I did, maybe if I didn't have F up those 4 or 5 years on addiction and eating disorders, then I'd be further along than what I was. So that was the world in my head that I lived in for years. And the experience on me was one of, I'm actually not supposed to be like this, with this kind of, I suppose in one way I'm a little bit smart, I've got some smartness and some intelligence and some articulation, but on the other hand, I'm a little bit rough around the edges. And maybe I have to polish those edges out a little bit to be a little bit more palatable for people, all of this just nonsense. But I remember the day that I actually realized, maybe someone didn't make a mistake when they made me. Oh, what? So what would that then mean? Shit, maybe I was supposed to go through those things. Maybe I'm supposed to have had the childhood I did to give me a certain type of perspective and viewpoint that just brings another little flavor into the world and a slight different perspective that maybe I can help some kinds of people that maybe wouldn't connect with those kinds of polished types. Fuck it. What if I stopped actually trying to change myself and I just stepped into more and more and more of me? And then what if I even fucking didn't give a shit about that? What if I just think actually, what is that thing that I feel called to? What do I want to do? And I put my focus on that and then just rolled up my sleeves and took the actions. That's been the process. And so, fast forward about 15 years from that decision, and then one thing and one step and one action has taken me to the next, I suppose, dot on the journey. And that each new dot, I can see the next big dot. And it's just been a process of connecting the dots on a daily basis and showing up on a daily basis. And then inside of all of that, having a context wrapped around that when I feel like shit, because I'm stepping into something that I have no freaking idea how to pull off, and it is challenging the pants off those little parts of me that just want to go watch Netflix. Sometimes I do it.
Sometimes we have a nap.
Oh my God, I love naps. But when that actually happens, there's just a bigger context for it all. That means that I don't run and hide like a different version of me that doesn't have that context would. This morning, my husband and I, we've been together for 17 years. We've been married for 12 years. We've got 2 teenage kids. We've got our relationship to where it is because we've constantly been willing to have the conversations that would call us into a new level of our marriage. And it's honestly, it's actually a constant process of death and rebirth. Because to step into a new level of relating, we've got to, sounds dramatic, but kill off the old relationship. We sat there this morning at our kitchen table as the kids left for school this morning, and we had a challenging conversation that all parts of me wanted to punch my way out of. I felt just all the resistance in my chest come up. He's invited me again into a new level of our relationship. And he's going there with or without me. And
as people, we resist discomfort. Our brains and our instincts want to keep us safe. And that's one of the things of being in business. It's not always going to be comfortable.
No, because our brains are actually wired. When you look at like neuropsychology, the left part of our brain is wired for meaning and interpretation, and it chitter chatters away from us from morning to night. And when there's something outside of us in our current environment looking us in the eye, and at the same time, not that it's causative, but it's at the same time of showing up of an uncomfort in our body, what we do, our brains are so masterful, they go, this feeling inside me that's uncomfortable is related to that thing that we point at in our environment, and then our brain interprets the story of out there, you caused this, right? But the thing is, we just are things that have uncomforts come up, So in that conversation this morning, it would have been very easy to have tried to stay in the story that my brain was popping out, rather than, so what I ended up saying to him was, I can feel something coming up inside of me. I really hear what you're saying and what you're wanting from this and what the invitation is. I can't language at the moment what's up for me, the resistance, but I also want what you want in the bigger picture. I'm just going to have to deal with whatever I have to deal with over the coming days. Yeah.
And in when you bring that into a business context, you've got to have conversations that aren't necessarily comfortable, whether it's with yourself and on your own business, or whether it's with your clients and saying, look, I see what you're doing here. I see that you're resisting this conversation because you're scared, or because it brings up a discomfort, or it means there's going to be a transition for you. And I think as people and entrepreneurs and women who are growing and we're in our business, there's a constant evolution and there's a constant growth. If we didn't look to the next goal, if we didn't want to strive for the next thing, we wouldn't be in business for ourselves.
100%. Can I check on something there around business?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've got a large team. I've got 12 women who work full-time on my team. And so, that's been built up over many years, and, started with a commitment and then challenged myself every step to keep putting the next person in place and to think outside the box creatively with how I was going to have it happen. So, a few weeks ago, I had something where I made the wrong call. I move fast, I make fast decisions, and I implement really fast. But a part of that, on one hand, we implement fast. On the other hand, we've also got to be willing to be aware of the feedback in our environment of how did that implementation land? Did it get the desired result? And then pivot fast, right? You know, I made a fast call and it was actually the wrong decision. So I realized that night it was just sitting in me all day and I'm like, I fucked up, made the wrong decision. So that night I was like, I've got to own it. So it was a process that night of ringing each person in my team to say, look, I'm really sorry, that decision I made, I fucked up, and then to own the impact that it had on the team. And I see that, so my point of this is what I see people don't do. Because when we fuck up, it's really our automatic response is to go into self-protection mode. And then what our brain does is it looks for the reasons and the evidence of why we made the right decision, and we become righteous and defensive. And what that does is it closes off possibility. So in owning my own screw up that night, the impact, the result that's come out of it is that our team culture got strengthened through being willing to say, guys, I screwed up and I'm so sorry, I made the wrong call. This is the call that I should have made. And to really take a deep level of ownership, and to thank each person in the team for stepping forward and having what I call courageous communication with me. What's happened is our team culture could have shut down if I had have got defensive. Our team culture opened up and is stronger than ever because of the willingness to, I suppose, say the truth rather than get defensive.
Do you think that is coming from, and this is, I've had conversations on previous podcasts about the rise of the feminine energy in business. And this ownership of communication and courageous communication is a different way to communicate. And I feel it's a more feminine way of communicating.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think the work that I do around leadership is, and like a deep on the court owning of what we're bringing to situations and circumstances that's causing our environment to show up or not show up. And so if something's happening in the team or with my clients or with my relationship or with my kids, and it's happening around me, then I can either point the finger and say, you guys need to change this, you guys need to sort that out, and keep it at a distance from any level of my own responsibility. Or I can actually look at what am I doing or not doing that's creating this mess or this thing around me, and then make the shift over here.
And that ownership and that communication, as you said, can have such deep impacts on culture, because there isn't that shame and there isn't anger and there isn't the fear of speaking out, which I think is really interesting from in every element of your life. So obviously going from you to a team of 12, how has your business evolved, and where were the signs for you that you needed to change?
Yeah. Years ago, before I even considered the possibility of building a team, I was mum, 2 kids, had a national career working for the government in New Zealand, building my business, getting up at 3 a.m., the drill. And I was super capped. I was super exhausted. My time, my money, everything was capped. And then I was on an interview with Dr. John Demartini, and he talked about how he has built basically an environment where everything's delegated out, like everything, driving, cooking, cleaning, everything, except for his genius in the areas that is his creative craft. And I remember I was gobsmacked by this possibility. And I was like, wow, I'd never even considered that.
I want some of that.
Yeah. Well, he was someone who lived under a bridge at one point.
Yeah.
He certainly didn't get there because of a handout or an easy process. He got there because he decided, and he took the action, and he pivoted along the way, and he got creative. Great. That day, I decided to do that. And in that decision, right, I decided to do it. I locked it in every day, but also I took action now, i.e. that day I started taking action, rather than thinking I'm going to decide, and yes, that's going to be great for my future, but in the next year, I can't, right? So I started getting creative. And so I looked at, how to bring in extra income at a higher hourly rate than what I could pay for a housekeeper. So it was just getting creative. So I think, I'm a strong believer that when we get creative and innovative, we can see solutions and possibilities. Then we just implement. So I got something that I could earn enough money in 3 hours to pay for 15 hours of housekeeping. It was just, something I learned to do off the internet, and did it in found 3 hours, and it leveraged my time. Got the housekeeper in place, that freed up time. I reinvested that. Then the extra money from that, I reinvested into someone 20 hours a week as an assistant. Then that freed me up to bring in a bit more money, increased it to 40 hours. It's just like that. It's a progressional. But I think the key message I want to say to anyone who's listening to this is, if you're feeling that you're capped on whatever level, and you know that there's a level beyond this, and you hear conversations like this and you're thinking, yeah, I really do want to have a team where I need to bring an assistant in, I would challenge you to claim that now, and then challenge you to decide that you're going to start now and start putting a piece of that in place, and challenge yourself to get creative. And a way to do that is, just as one way, is the 100 ways how game. So if you ask yourself, all right, what is 100 ways how I could get my next team member in, or I could get 10 hours of housekeeping, wherever you're starting from. What's the next thing you want someone to take in? What's 100 ways how? And then write 100 different ways in which you could creatively make that happen. Then choose one of them and start actually implementing. You'll be surprised at what is already available right now, and you don't have to wait another 12 months or 2 years.
Because often we put our plans on hold because I'm not ready. You are ready, actually, because if you've had the idea and you want that thing, now is the time to start that. Now is the time to go after that goal, because you'll never be ready. It's like having a baby. You'll never be ready. So how do you manage your life as an entrepreneur with your kids and your team and everything?
I think one of the things is that I do have built up to like a great lifestyle, having a large team in place that is highly trained. Over the years, I've gotten really good at training a leadership team. So it's, I've got the right people employed in the right seats on the bus with the right structures around them. And literally everything's delegated out. I don't do a single thing that's not in my total zone of genius. So I think life for me nowadays is different to how it was progressionally to get here. But yeah, my life now looks like I run large training events. I create all of my own content thinking wise, but then I just hand it over to the team, and the team build everything out. So life's different these days, but I suppose what I want to say to anyone listening to this is that anyone can create this, but you do have to get committed, and like a deep level of committed to working out the pieces and taking action and following through.
And taking action is the key. Instead of sitting there thinking about it and fantasizing, actually take action.
Yeah.
So what does a great day in the office look like for you? Where's your favorite place to be in your business?
Yeah, I've got a few different days throughout the week. I'm quite a big one on batching. Yeah. So for example, today's Thursday. Tuesdays and Thursdays are appointment availability days. And so just even the way that my schedule is created is pretty laser time efficient. So there's 1 minute between appointments. So 60 seconds is all I need to change over between an appointment. And, if there's 5 minutes gap between, I just think that that's 5 minutes wasted. So like the way in which my calendar is set up for Tuesdays and Thursdays, today I've got 8 appointments back to back with a break. So everything gets fully batched Tuesdays and Thursdays for appointments, but I still don't start till 11 a.m. on those days. Just by being really time efficient and batching things so well, I've got from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. when my kids go to school of creative thinking time. And that's where I'm really frying my big fish. That's where I'm thinking high level, and I'm doing my creative thinking when my brain's really fresh, and I'm thinking about like the big vision and where we're going and what are the pieces that need to be put in place. And I'm maybe creating a few things. If you looked around the room, if you guys could see, there's flip charts everywhere. It looks like a shitstorm because yesterday was full creation mode. I was in program creation mode because there was no appointments, right? Then, so that's what it looks like. I've got Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which is frying big fish. It's the big stuff that's moving the needle in our business. And then Tuesday, Thursdays are super time efficient. And then, you know, I'm also really laser clear about availability. I think that's so important. I'm just kind of like more talking like nuts and bolts now, like technical stuff.
Yeah.
But just in terms of availability, I think it's a really important thing that we need to all look at all points of our journey, is how available we are and how we ring fence our availability and when our time availability is. And so, you know, this having client-wise, I've got a Voxer app and all my clients can come through Voxer. So active clients, and as soon as their client program's finished, they're exited out of Voxer. WhatsApp is only for friends and family and team, right? So no one gets WhatsApp unless they're a friend or family or team. And, you know, I've only got a couple of friends in there. Everyone else, it's through Facebook and Instagram. So even, you know, when I can meet someone out, I give them Facebook and Instagram because then we can meet through there. WhatsApp is really protected and guarded. You know, I don't.
It's sacred.
Really sacred, because then I can know when I'm going to be available for different conversations. You know, I go into Boxer once or twice a day when I'm in a headspace of client type conversations. I go into WhatsApp more frequently because I want to see if the kids have messaged and that kind of thing. And then even email, no one's got my personal email. It's all goes through the company email. And there's really clear agreements for the team. Even if they get an email through the company email that's for me personally, it still doesn't get forwarded on, because then my personal email gets connected, right? So it's just, and I've really had to step back and consider what's going to work for me in terms of keeping myself as free as possible while also serving the things that I'm committed to as big as possible. We making those decisions on how I do that to support myself has been a game changer.
Because it's one of the things that really does get blurry when you work for yourself and you are your brand, are your boundaries. It's so easy for us to try and give and give and give to maximize the value that we're giving for our clients. And then your boundaries get blurred. And that's when you're facing burnout, because you're always on and you're always in that client giving headspace. And you can't be in that space all the time, because it's a dangerous place to be constantly, because you burn out and you've got to preserve your energy.
Yes, and I would even say to that, if anyone is listening to that and you know you're in that space where you are afraid to put down very clear boundaries with clients or potential clients because they might get pissed off and not feel served or whatever reason, I want to reframe that conversation, because it's actually the opposite. People deeply respect when someone deeply respects their own time. And whatever value and level of respect you put on your own time is where people are going to meet you. Yeah. So one of the key areas to then make that be effective is that up front, you want to be clear about your boundaries, right? The agreement up front, and it's how you're being within your boundaries, but it's also the upfront spoken expectation. So for example, when someone comes in as a client, they get a client handbook, a full client handbook given to them from my team. And the handbook clearly clarifies all of the boundaries that we have, how they can be supported, how they can make the most out of the program, what they can expect. And having agreed expectations up front, no one has issues. What causes issues is unspoken agreements. It's the unclarified expectations that actually causes the upsets. And then we get all weird with it. We get all weird. And then as a result of weirdness, then we try and overgive, and it just creates muckiness, because people can feel that, and they feel that there's a lack of boundaries. And so they're not going to respect your time either.
And when we are in developing these boundaries and creating them around our business, we just need to also value our own time, and we need to put those things in place. And it doesn't matter who you are or how big your business is, whether you're one person with one client or a larger business, you've got to have those processes and systems in place from the start. And you have your client handbook, and I have a service level agreement, and take the time to do that for your business. So anyway, I was saying that to all the people out there. So you've mentioned Voxer. any other tools that you just love and live in?
Monday.com is the bomb. Diggity dom. It is the best. I've used a lot of project management systems like Red Booth and Asana and Trello, and Monday.com is just the beast. So if you haven't got a project management system, get Monday.com. Have you used that one at all?
I use Airtable, but
Okay.
I'm just sort of me managing my projects, and then I haven't got a team.
Got it.
Yeah.
Monday.com, I would say, is so good. And so we actually, about 4 months ago, changed everything over from Red Booth, which, it's such a big mission to change a whole project management, considering how many stuff we've got in there, but it was worth it. That's how much I value this system. Yeah, I'd say that's probably the main thing that's been useful. The other thing, if do you have a lot of people listening to this podcast who are coaches?
Yes.
Okay, so one thing I found really useful is that I've got a system set up that when I am coaching a client in Voxer, and if they come up against something that I know is a reoccurring theme for a lot of people, one of the ways in which I support them, but also I'm creating something to support many clients in the future around that one thing, is at the moment I hear them say blah, 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 and I'm like, well, they're right up against something that's common. I create an audio training for it.
Yeah.
So I could just answer them one off into the Voxer message, or I could step back and say, what are the things that they really need to hear in this moment that's going to give them an access point? So then I pick up my phone and I record that on my voice message app, send it to my team, and my team upload it into SoundCloud and put it on a private link. Then I give that private link to the client in Voxer app and I go, hey, hun, have a listen to this. And then let me know if you need to talk further beyond this. Then I take that link and I've got an Evernote app on my phone that's for my training library. And this is where I'm storing all of these training links with little notes for myself. Audio links, I dump the link there and I put, this is 10 minutes 30. And it's covering this, and this, and I'm talking about this metaphor. Perfect for a client when da-da-da-da. So I've got, this Evernote app on my phone. It's got hundreds of pre-created power conversations that support people. So it's a really effective way that you add major value to your client, but also you're creating things that support your time and energy going forward. So a lot of, people in Voxer with me, they're like, wow, you just provide so much service. Do you know it is so light on my energy to do that because I've created the back-end systems to support that.
Systems, they're important. And preserving your energy.
Yeah.
So one of the things that affects every single entrepreneur I know, and I've asked in every single podcast I've ever done, is imposter syndrome. So what are your methods to overcome imposter syndrome, and how do you respond to the bad days in business?
Yeah, I think I'm going to sort of make an umbrella statement and then I'll drill down. Mm-hmm. Umbrella statement is that I really get that we're going to have shitty days, and that the shitty days aren't stuff to be kind of thrown out and think that they're a part of something bad. And in fact, if we are looking for the gold, then we can see something even in those days. I came smack up against something that was so different the other day, and it was a challenging conversation that I just did not know how to navigate. And it would have been easy to have my little interpreter brain go, fuck, F you, F her, right? And then just feel defensive. I stepped back and I was thinking, what am I not noticing here? From that conversation, from the inquiry that I was willing to go into that conversation, I've created an entirely new program design for this one key piece that I'm filming tomorrow that's going to be a massive service to this and to something bigger. And I've changed a key. Does that make sense? So there was a major breakthrough through this thing that happened that was not fun to experience, but because I was willing to stay in the inquiry of what is there for myself to see here. So I guess we can just go, oh, it's a shitty day, blah, 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 it's too bad. But I really get, the context of we've got so much to learn. And the second piece I wanted to say was that we, in terms of like an ontological level, we have, I see, is these little stories in the background that we make up. And my one is that I've done something wrong. And so doesn't matter whatever level I go to, the moment I step into the next level, like when I created She, which is Australasia's largest women's leadership empowerment event, and it's just, it's growing each year, it's freaking epic and huge. When I decided to go from the idea to actually, yes, I'm going to do this, declared it out in the world, put my money where my mouth was, it's been a huge investment financially, and created it. Of course, what gets brought up for me is my little tape recorder loop of, you've done something wrong, you're going to make a mistake, blah, 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 blah. What I get though, and this is I get that that's going to come up at every level. So when it comes up, it's actually not such a big thing. I mean, it's still not comfortable, but it's not like, oh my God, this means something. No, it actually only means that you're stepping into a new level. And every time you step into a new level, you're going to feel some level of uncomfort. And if you are able to do that work, you'll probably start to put some languaging to it. And for each of us, we have I'm not lovable, or I've done something wrong, or I'm not good enough, or I'm alone. We have our own flavor of that is like a life sentence throughout our life. Right? It's called a life sentence ontologically. But if we are able to see it, the meaning to it, and then go, oh, this means that I'm not good enough. And the only issue is when we make that little thing mean something about ourselves and take the action, we sit on the sidelines of our life with a story of why we can't.
And people think in themselves, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail. If that comes up again and again and again, all it is your brain telling you that story. And when you fear that you're going to fail, that's not necessarily true. It's just something your brain's going to make up for you to try and keep you safe. But you've got to just recognize that can come up again. So how do you maintain your sense of community? Obviously, you create this amazing event. Where's your community in Bali beyond your team, and how do you stay tapped into all the women across Australasia?
I don't know if I do it particularly well, to be honest. And I think I do it for probably in the way that serves me. But I don't have, outside of probably the people who watch my work and my clients and stuff, I have a smaller network, and I have, very close people who I've been connected with from, probably my lifetime. But outside of that, I'm not the kind of person actually who even wants to go a million different kind of trips and stuff like that. I'm so
it's a way of preserving your energy.
And just honoring, I suppose, the kind of human that I am. I'm a little bit maybe more introverted, and it can be extroverted. That feels natural when I'm on stage and stuff, but a lot of times I actually really freaking, to be honest, value my alone time. By the time I've done my thing, I've been working with clients through the day, I actually want to hang out with my kids and my husband. I want to go hang out at the beach with my dog. I want to do that kind of thing, hang out with my sister. So I think probably in answer to that, I've learned to understand myself and not have to try and be what other people maybe make it look like they're doing. Yeah.
Expectations. We don't need them. So what is your why? Obviously, you have this incredible energy and this event that you have created to empower women, which is a key to your why. But what keeps you really motivated?
I really want us to feel free as what we possibly can within our own lives and behind closed doors. That's really important to me. And I guess the why I'm so freaking connected to that is that I still don't feel free at times. I still get anxiety at times. I still self-doubt. But I guess the point is that I still play full out, even though that's still there. And I guess the other piece is that, I'm an NLP trainer, master practitioner. I've done so much deep training with the masters over the last 15 years. I've done every NLP strategy there is on self-doubt and stuff. What I've come to realize is that it ain't going away, my friends. And I've decided to stop trying to make it go away. So I just want to be connected as much as I can and more to who I am and my loved ones. And I want to remind people that they're actually okay and that we're all okay, and that to have conversations that matter.
Yeah.
Beyond the hype and of what I can see sometimes we can do in this personal development world. So, and to be honest, I'm finding my feet more and more on that, and I don't know if that's ever going to finish either. But yeah, I want families to thrive. I want people to thrive.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love it. So what are your tips then for the smart women, top 1, 2, 3, whatever, for the smart women in business across the world?
Yeah.
What's your nugget?
I would say for yourself, get really clear, because there's so many things I could say, get really clear on why it's important for you to be doing what you're doing. And money is brilliant. And have your focus be on something that's much more deeper than that. Because I think when we're just focused on earning income, we get so distracted by the numbers that we take out the heart and the soul of what we're doing. It's funny because I feel like the opposite's true when we're actually giving a shit, like truly giving a shit about something that we're out to cause or create. The money comes, and it comes in huge amounts, and then that can be very welcome. And
and then you live in Bali. So where can your listeners find out more about you? And I will put the links in the show notes, but
yes, actually, can I give them a recording of something? There's nothing to sell.
Absolutely.
When I was at SHE last time, which is Australasia's largest women's leadership empowerment event, oh my God, we have everyone left SHE saying this was the pivotal experience. I feel like just loving themselves and ready to go kick it. It's really cool. But when I was on day 2 of SHE, I did a conversation training on stage, but I've got the recording if people want to have it. So go to katemarieobrien.com/training, and it's free. There's nothing to sell there. It's literally just to get that 28-minute recording, and it's so bloody good. So go watch that. But also you can come connect with me on Instagram or Facebook at Kate Maree O'Brien. That's MAREE.
And I will put the links in the show notes. And thank you for your incredible time today, Kate.
Pleasure, Jane.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks. You've been listening to the Smart Women in Business podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and don't forget to subscribe.